What's up? What's up? How we doing? Good day to everybody. We back. Yeah. Mic check, mic check. Y'all know how y'all be feeling out there.
Emotional, damn it.
Get your shit together. Yeah. What's going on? How everybody doing today? Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Welcome back. Yes, today is actually the day. We are at episode 2 of the No More Excuses podcast. I'm your host, Justin, on this beautiful, beautiful evening. Hello from the East Coast to the West. Yes, we are here on the East Coast, 9 o'clock Eastern time. For those who are on the West Coast, all the way to Cali. I know I had some people from Cali over here last night. So if you're back here, welcome. I appreciate everybody who showed love and support. Always down for new content. So as always, if you have ideas, you can come put them in the live chat, put them in the comments. Always look at the comments. So per usual, we have a couple of ground rules before we get into our topic today. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, share, tell a friend, tell a family member, tell your baby mama, your baby daddy, whoever you need to tell. Let them know. They might learn something. So tonight we are having such a good conversation. Very important. Kind of one that I've wanted to touch on for quite some time now. So I know you saw the title. How do you plead? Guilty, not guilty. You know how this goes. I'm pretty sure everybody in here has been to court at least once or at least seen something. Divorce court, Judge Mathis, cops, you know how they do it when it deals with the law. How do you plea? What does that really mean? Well, I'm sorry. Let me back up a little. Let me back it up. I forgot to mention that, yes, we are here to talk about family relationships, how people are together. My biggest thing, nuclear family. There is an attack on the nuclear family, on how society is today, from things such as feminism, equality has kind of attacked the household in a bit. Not just equality, but I mean, just different ways of how society has changed and evolved in such a negative way. There's no structure in the household. There's no togetherness. We are constantly fighting and battling each other. Why? Don't know. Well, I do know, but we shouldn't. The gender war has been long over. It's never been a gender war. Instead of fighting each other and pretty much blaming each other, why don't we focus on the real problem and actually come together on one accord? Why? Because life is about people. Life is about relationships, choices. And what does those things bring? They bring us outcomes, whether it's beneficial or not beneficial. But of course, we always want the benefits without weighing out our consequences. So let's get into it. But before, tonight is that type of conversation. So yeah, let's get down to it. So when you playing, you know how court works. You have your defendant, your prosecutor, but most of all, your judge and jury. Whether you do or don't have a jury, but however, the outcome is still the same when the jury pleads, when the defendant and prosecutor pleads their case. Why are we there? Because of charges. So, what are your charges? Well, seeing that this is a podcast about talking about family and relationships, of course, we talk about roles as a father, as a mother, husband, and wife. So, charges. Let's see if I can bring it up. Actually, have a little bit of dialogue. So, see if it allows me to do it today. One second, y'all. Before we do that, I'm gonna come back here. Make sure everything's kind of set. I know I could put in a slideshow type manner if it lets me. Mm. There we go. No, it's not. All right, you see how charges is. Do you accept the charges that are at hand for you? See what it means? So right now, we're going to start with C on our charges. You see right there, commitment. Commitment is the first thing when it comes to the nuclear family, when it comes to relationships. Are you guilty or not guilty of commitment? Do you want to be with the person that's in front of you? The person who has, you know, you know how marriage works. There's a proposal before marriage. But when you do get married, when you are actually at the ceremony, what do the bride and groom take? They take their vows. Vows is the commitment that they offer with one another. And I'm pretty sure we've heard about how vows is. Vows is a promise that you are holding your commitment and your covenant together. You promise that you will love one another, take care of one another, whether it is for better or for worse, good, bad, sickness, and health, the good times and the bad times. But most of all, the biggest and the most, I would say, important part of taking vows is the timestamp. And what does the timestamp say at the end? Till death do us part. Many of us are guilty when it comes to commitment. We're guilty because we put conditions instead of understanding the timestamp of our commitment. And in truth, when you love someone and when you really want to commit to someone, it should be until you are no more. You should give your life to it. And a lot of us tend to not even do that. We have a hard time with understanding commitment, mostly because many of us haven't seen many commitment. Per the statistics, 80% of children that come from single parent households. The ones that are incarcerated, the ones that don't really, you know, recognize what commitment really means because they've never seen it. Many of us don't see commitment until we get about middle school, maybe high school, where we start understanding and cohabiting as well as introducing ourselves to the opposite sex, of course, and really understanding and realize what relationships are. So many of us don't even know commitment. To us, commitment is just, oh, you know, trust. And if we break the trust, then the commitment's broken. But that's really not what it's about. That's why I said the vows. Vows when you get married, those vows mean everything. Many people don't really understand that. They put, once again, conditions, mostly when it comes to infidelity and abuse. Now, I'm not saying that if you are abused or, if you suffer from infidelity to just keep on, but isn't forgiveness kind of big on commitment? Nobody's perfect. We're not perfect. We all make mistakes. That's the risk that we take with one another. It's understanding it's for better or for worse. Next, hierarchy, the H in charges. Are we guilty, not guilty? Do you accept these charges? How do you plea when it comes to hierarchy? A lot of us have an issue with authority. We have an issue with the way, with structure. And that's because many of us, once again, haven't seen that. We don't understand what true hierarchy is, whether it's different types, whether you're in a patriarch or the matriarch. If you don't know what that is, Google it. I'm not about to get into it. I did in my first video, but not today. So if you don't understand that, Google it. But hierarchy is very important. Structure is very important because someone has to lead. And if you don't know how to lead, that's on you. Everybody's situation is different. I'm not even gonna give my opinion because I'm not here to argue opinions. I'm here to argue facts. So that's that. Next, we're gonna talk about appreciation. The A in charges, appreciation. Um, let's see. Appreciation can really go about many different ways. But most of all is that, are you, once again, how do you plea when it comes to appreciation? Are you guilty or not guilty? I would say in the society and the world we live in today, one second. The society we live in today, we don't appreciate because we've been given so much. We've been spoiled, at least in here in the westernized community. We have been spoiled. So many people don't appreciate it. We get very bored. We're like a we're like a child around Christmas. I know many of y'all know when you was a little. And even if you have children, you see it in their face. They see the Christmas tree, but most of all, they see the the uh the presents underneath the tree. And what do many children do? Of course, they go for the largest one. Why not? The bigger, the better. But when they open up, they see like, oh, great. It's something that they wanted all along, what they asked for. But when they see more presents with their name, what do? They toss it aside because it's not about the quality, but the quantity. That's what appreciation is really about. The quality of your life, of being, the qualities of the individual or the thing that you have in your life. Many of us don't appreciate our relationships. We don't appreciate the people that we have in our lives, whether it be your significant other, your husband, your wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, however you choose, however which way you go. Even down to family members, we don't have much of an appreciation when it comes to family. Why is that? Because we have been spoiled. We have been shown and things around us that we can have it all. I mean, I've said this before. Our parents' Generation X has pretty much lied to us by telling us that we can have it all when that's really untrue. You can't have it all. Why? Because you have benefits, you also have consequences. Everything comes with consequences. You can't have it all. You know, it's the same thing. That's pretty much line saying, hey, every person could go to the NBA. Every person's going to be rich. Every person's going to be wealthy. When we all know that's untrue. But be thankful for what you have, not what you don't have. And if you show appreciation, that gets you one step closer to to true happiness. All right, next, as you see, we have responsibility. I believe this is see how deep I want to go. Let's see. Responsibility. This goes back to all the rest of them that we need to understand your role and responsibility in your relationship, in your life. Everybody has a responsibility to themselves, but more so you have a responsibility to your family. One thing here's a side story. Just take a little side story into me. Um, One thing my granddad always taught me was that family is important. Why? Because you're a representation of your family. One thing he used to always ask me is, what was what was your first name? Oh, well, that's simple. First name is Justin. Is it though? Is that the first name that you are that is set on your birth certificate? Had me thinking. It's Justin, right? That's what everybody calls me. No. Before you tell, the nurse or doctor, whoever, the name that you give, you have a given name and then you have a surname, your family name. Your family name is the first thing that's put on your birth certificate before your first name is actually given. It's kind of I guess a stamp, property of property of your family name. And that made me think about it, that responsibility is not to yourself first, but it's really to your family. And once you understand that, then you can start understanding the role that you play in your family. What is your role? I mean, that's based on the role that you're given in your family. I guess it has to be given, you know? So, what part do you play? What is your responsibility? Well, as you grow, you learn these things, you learn your family heritage, your family history, and you see and understand how you're supposed to be and act accordingly to how your family is, at least how you should be taught. But once again, many of us don't know that because there's an attack on a nuclear family. Society today is really doing its best to dissolve the meaning of marriage, the meaning of what family is. And you can't have an overall, I guess, the village concept. Well, what is a village made of? A village is made up of people. But what are those people? They're not individual, they're families. Can't have a village concept without the concept of family, the nuclear family to be exact. And you can't have a family without marriage. I mean, yeah, you could be a baby mom, baby daddy, but who wants to be that, right? Don't you want to have a sense of belonging? Do you have a sense of belonging? Life is about people, yes, but it's also more so about relationships and the choices that we make. So, do you choose family or do you want to be like the rest of these exiles and accept your individuality? Hmm. Something to think about. But that brings me to the next of your set of charges, growth. Everything has been a way of building yourself up to this point. First, accepting the commitment. Commitment is important. You must say yes. And once you say yes to that commitment, then you must understand your role. Well, you can't understand your role unless you know what you're in. Where the hierarchy comes in. And once you commit and understand the hierarchy and the structure that you belong to, then you can start appreciating what you have. And once you start appreciating what you have, then you know what you need to do. And that's where your roles and responsibilities come on. But once all these things start to align in order and things start going well, and after a while you become stagnant, right? You're stable. It's where stability comes in your life, and you're just going through the motions. But of course, it must grow. You can't just have the same amount of people. You can't just have just the same thing going on. Life is about always being better. You should always want to be 1% better every day, and that's where growth comes in. So what is growth? Well, in my own definition, growth is is adaptation. In other words, adapting. I would say evolving, but I don't believe in evolving, because evolving is not looking back. You fail to look back. So I would say adapt. And the reason why I say adapt is because when you adapt to your surroundings, when you adapt to your environment, you can still live in it, you can understand it, but makes you more aware, more wise in your surroundings. So you find ways to do better, be better. And when you understand growth, yeah, it may change. You may change, but you change it for the better. And not the better only for yourself, but for your empire or your village, your family. You understand that in order to lead, and you're understanding your role and your responsibility, you're able to grow and see where the faulty things and the consequences that came about, you start to eliminate that. You become more resilient. Once you understand your growth, that comes to our next set of charge, according to our charges, your expectation. You start to once you start growing, you start to expect and become resilient and understand that, okay, if I make this choice, will it benefit me? You start using logic. And what do we do? Depending if you're male, female, hey, men, we run our logic through our thought process, our practicality. Women naturally run their logic through their emotions. Both are needed. Both are needed to understand fully the human being. We can't do it alone. I mean, men, yeah, we can run our logic through our emotions, but what has that done for us in history? When men start running their emotions, their logic through their emotions, they usually become either angry, angry first usually, or sad, or both. But hey, women, in my opinion, women are better at it, and not just my opinion, but the data kind of shows it. That's why usually, in my opinion, women are better doctors, teachers. They're first transmitter of culture. They're the first teachers. They're better at understanding that. Men, we build. We run our logic through practicality, being tactical, being physically fit, strong, and learning ways to use our strengths through our logic. Well, and the last, you see it, to wrap it all up, when you bind all your charges and put them all together, the last but not least, and really the most important, is sacredness, the sacred treasure. All this has led to this. What does sacred mean? Well, let's look it up. I would rather literally look it up so we get a full identification of what it is. Dedication, laws, or doctrines is what sacred means. Hmm. It describes something that is dedicated or set apart for service. Well, it says service or worship of a deity, but we're going to say service. So considered worthy of respect or devotion. What does that mean? Well, if you tie it all together, when it comes to the nuclear family, when it comes to marriage, marriage is sacred. It is a devotion, like we said, with commitment. It is a respect, hierarchy, appreciation, responsibility, growth, expectation. All these are sacred charges of how we plead in our marriage. Like I said, when you take your vows, what does it really mean? Sickness and health, for better or for worse, until death do us part. So really, it's sacred. We should it should be special. And I feel, let me not say that. I don't feel that's wrong for me to say. I think and I believe that the nuclear family has been guilty of losing its sacredness in the society that we live in today. Nobody believes in that. Nobody has respect or devotion to things other than their own selfish and jealous ways. We're quick to devote to our own cause and to our own feelings and our own thought process, as long as it benefits me, right? As long as it benefits me, then I have no problem. No matter who I screw, no matter who I mess with, all the way to adult and sexual intimacy, all that. It's no longer sacred. It's just we just out here bumping and grinding, do whatever, right? We have lost our sacredness as a people, as a village, as a society. We no longer understand respect, respect for one another, respect for each other's village, purpose, well-being. Why is that? Jealousy or greed. These what they call the seven deadly sins, but our own guilty pleasures, our self selfishness. So, do you that so hmm. so in the end, how do you plead? Do you plead guilty or not guilty to these charges? Because as far as holding yourself responsible for these things, you must understand these charges and what they bring, the severity of it. You know, if you plead guilty, are you guilty for a lifetime? Well, like the vow said, until death do us part. So when you are charged, you should be, whether you're guilty or not guilty, you are held to a life sentence of it. Something to think about, something to take serious. But yeah, let me know if you feel indifferent. That's for you. I'm not gonna argue opinions, but look at the stats. The stats say it for itself. So before we leave, that's that. I mean, that's the end of my that's the end of my monologue. So I appreciate everybody coming, but as closing thoughts, I'm about to put a video on. Video that I saw not too long ago, kind of stuck with me. So 1 second. Let's see where I was close. All right. Okay, so I'm about to pull up this video. Many of you know this individual. Yes, yes, it is. The one and only, the Godfather, none other Mr. Samuels. So just really sit back and really listen. Be open-minded. I want you to really be optimistic about listening. Listen on good faith. That's the best I could say. Listen on good faith.
All right, what's the question you have? I got a question. Who's more toxic, men or women?
Women.
Hmm. Okay. You won't hold for quite a while. What's the question you have?
I really don't have question though. I just have this. Why is it so difficult for women to see their wrongs? That's just the thing.
So
Because I
wrong.
watch your
One second.
show.
Let me make sure this is
To see their wrongs.
okay.
That's just the
We're
thing.
good. We're good. We're good.
A lot. Yeah, to see what they're doing wrong.
Uh, I think the baseline issue is because so many women in general, black women in particular, have such a
Hmm.
low opinion of the overall black male image. Think about this for a second, okay? 8 out of 10
Hmm.
children are born to single mothers, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. That's just a number. As a girl or a boy, when is the first time you're going to see a black man in a position of power? He's not in your home. When you go to, you don't see black men as preschool teachers. That would be weird. Black male kindergarten teachers, kind of weird, because and elementary school is primarily dominated by women, right?
Hmm.
The first place a boy or a girl will likely run into a black man of any consequence is in some form of athletics around junior high school or high school. And by that time, it's already been 10 plus years of living under a female dominated environment. Your principals, your teachers, your mother, everybody is women, 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 women. And it's also happening around the same time little girls are becoming biologically mature, right? And what happens when a girl goes from being a, when she gets her cycle? What do they tell you as a girl? Beware of men or boys because boys are dirty or boys are nasty. Boys want something from you, so you're taught to fear us. You're taught to think of black men, your natural counterpart and your safety system as something to be feared because of what's between your legs, and then you're taught to think of us as something to do for you, to protect or provide. You don't grow up like even knowing us. So by the time you become teenagers and young women, you're familiar with our image, but you don't know us. But we grow up
Because
knowing
this
women.
is far.
We grow up knowing you, though. Boys grow up having to know women. You think about the
Exactly.
imbalance between a boy that grew up in that environment, a girl growing up in that environment sees women in positions of power doing things. And boys grow up learning to have to know how to work with a woman in order to get safety. Women don't have to do that until you're teenagers or blah, blah, blah. And by that time, it's far too late.
Hmm.
That's why. That's why it's so hard for women to see because they're not used to seeing a man in a position of power. All right?
Exactly. Because yeah, yeah,
Got it?
you're right.
Have a good day, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Bye bye.
Okay.
So, guys, understand something. Um, Look, I know it's kind of difficult. I know a lot of times guys are like, man, I couldn't do what you do. And that's okay.
All right, I'm gonna leave it at that. Really think about what he said. Um, it's very difficult to understand when a man is in a position of power. Yes, because it's not norm. We don't normally see it majority of the time. So, what do we do about it? How do we fix it? Well, we stop being indifferent to understanding men being in power particularly black men, and stop being afraid of them. That is, and I guess the biggest thing is ask men what they want, ask them what they understand. Real men, because I'm holding men accountable too. There are some men out here who not doing what they're supposed to do, and of course you can tell. We women are the most educated and they are very intelligent. Women are intelligent enough to understand when you have a real man in your presence, whether it's an average guy, below average, or a man of high value. You realize who you have in front of me. You realize the signs when they're not doing what they're supposed to do. The thing is, gotta hold you gotta hold yourself accountable, women, as well, to understand what you have in front of you. You know when they're lying. You know it. Men are held accountable. A lot of them should be held more accountable, but women you gotta hold yourself accountable too. Welcome to equality, where we now share the responsibility. We must hold ourselves accountable to not only the benefit but the consequences of our choices. So I appreciate it. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, share with a family. Your baby mama, share with your baby daddy. Hell, share with your baby daddy. He might need to understand how to really be a man out here, because can't have no simps out here. Need to be doing what we supposed to do. Men, get off your ass. But also women, start being honest and holding yourselves accountable for your choices. Women control access to sex. Men control access to relationships and marriage. We already know. Women control access to when a child is born. Let's take accountability here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do that. So, once again, I appreciate everybody who came on the stream. Much love. Thank you. And we are out of here.